All right, for 41, it's asking us to factor completely, so let's look at these two terms. What do they share in common? 32 and 2, I could factor out a 2. I have 1r here. I have 5 r's here. I could factor out 1r. That's my greatest common factor. So what's left over? 2r times what is 32r? That's going to be 16. And 2r times what is r to the 5th? That's going to be r to the 4th. Okay. All right, now we can actually push this a bit further. 16 is the same thing as 4 squared. And r to the 4th is the same thing as this. Watch out for this. R to the second to the second. All right, so I have this quantity here squared. So that's a difference of squares. So I could rewrite this as 2r times 4 minus r squared times 4 plus r squared. All right? And now we could actually factor this a bit further because you'll notice that what we have right here is a difference of squares. So I have 2r times 2 squared minus r squared. I'm just rewriting it right now so you can see what's actually going on. So now I have 2r times, this is a difference of squares, so it's 2 minus r times 2 plus r. And then we have times 4 plus r squared. And now we have factored it completely. So greatest common factor involved in this problem, and difference of squares twice. All right, factor completely. All right, first thing we're going to do is notice that we have c's in each term. So I can pull out at most 2 c's from each term, leaving me with c squared minus 8c minus 33. Okay. And let's see, I'm going to do big X method now. I have negative 8, on the bottom negative 33. So what's going on here? What two numbers add up to negative 8? Multiply to give me negative 33. That's going to be 3 and negative 11. So I have c squared times c plus 3 times c minus 11. And that's all we can do. We're done. So greatest common factor and big X method for this problem. Simplify. Got r to the 3rd, p to the 6th. So let's see here. R to the 3rd, p to the 6th. What's going to happen here? I have a 1 right here. So I'm going to multiply these. I have r to the 4th, then I have p to the 8th. All right, so now applying a quotient rule here, I have r to the 3rd minus 4. And then here I have p to the 6th minus 8. Okay, so we have r to the negative 1 power, and we have p to the negative 2 power. So since those are both negative, I have to put them in the denominator position. That leaves me with a 1 on top. And I have r to the 1st on the bottom and p to the 2nd on the bottom. So simplifying this completely, it's r 1 over r times p to the 2nd. All right, done. Okay, for this problem, you may have to use the quadratic formula since this quadratic is not factorable, or you could just use a t-chart to graph. So let's make our t-chart. Let's plug in our x values, and let's figure out what the y values are. Okay, now you'll notice the y values that we get, a lot of the points end up being off the grid. So we're going to have to use a couple more values. All right, plug it in to figure out the y values. All right, so there are the y values, and now we could graph. So 0, negative 2, then we have 1, 3, then we have 2, 6, we have 3, 7, then we have 4, 6, then we have 5, 3, and we have 6, negative 2. See, it starts coming back down. And there's the graph of our parabola. All right. Whenever you're not sure of the quickest strategy to graph an equation, just use the t-chart and you'll eventually get there. All right, for this problem, graph y equals x minus 5 squared minus 3. All right, this is a quadratic, so it's going to be a parabola. and it's of this form, a times x minus h squared plus k, where h and k represent the vertex. Alright, so the rule is that whatever value you have inside here, you take the opposite of that, which is 5. And then whatever value you have on the outside here, you take that for what it is, -3. So that's your vertex. So we go over 5 and we go down -3. Alright, and from there, you know that it's a positive in front, so your parabola is going to move upward. It's as simple as that. Now if you want to be more precise, then you could figure out the zeros of the quadratic. Just set y equal to 0 and then foil this here and then factor it, and you could find where the zeros are exactly along the x-axis. Alright, that's all there is to it. If you have no idea what to do, what always works? Create a t-chart. Alright, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Plug those values in, and you could start to construct your parabola point by point. Alright, calculate the vertex. Gotta figure out what the vertex is. Okay, so we have a parabola, and there's a minimum point, and there's a line that goes through the parabola, divides it in half, known as the axis of symmetry. It's a -b/2a. So that gives you the x value for the vertex. And so here I have a is equal to 3, b is equal to 18, c is equal to -6. Alright, so let's plug it in. We got -b, which is 18, over 2a, a is 3. I have 18 over 6, which is -3. Alright, so I have -3 for x. If I want to figure out y, let's plug it in. Alright, and I get 3 times 9 plus, minus 54 minus 6. 3 times 9 is 27, minus 54, minus 6. So I end up with 27 minus 6, which is 21. Minus 60. Alright, so that gives me -33. Alright, so there's -33. That's my vertex. That's all there is to it. Alright, the key is to use this formula to get your x value in the beginning. Alright, find the x-intercepts. That's very easy to do. To find the x-intercepts, you have to set y equal to 0. So x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. This is a quadratic, so I got to use the big X method. 1 on top and -6 on the bottom. What two numbers add up to 1? Multiply to give you -6. Then you have -2 and 3. So you have x minus 2 times x plus 3 is equal to 0. Alright, and I get x is equal to 2. And x is equal to -3 when I set the factors equal to 0. Alright, those are my x-intercepts. Done. What is the maximum value of the function? Whenever you hear maximum or minimum, you want to think of the vertex. And you want to think of the y value for the vertex in particular. Alright, so to figure out the vertex, I have to apply the axis of symmetry formula to figure out what my x value is. Oh, that's -2. And I have c is 3. Okay, so plugging in the formula, I have x is equal to -4 over 2 times -2. -4 over -4 is equal to 1. Alright, so then I plug the 1 back in, and I can solve for my y. So y is equal to -2 plus 4 plus 3. So I have 2 plus 3, which is 5. And that's what I'm looking for, the maximum y value. So my answer is 5. That's my maximum. Alright, give the solution to the graph shown. Solutions are your x-intercepts, or your zeros. Alright, so right here and right here. So one of my solutions is going to be, that's -3. Alright, so my solutions are my x values, where the graph crosses the x-axis. So it's going to be x is equal to -3, and x is also equal to 1. Alright, and you may see the answer represented this way, with these brackets. Alright, this is just the set of values that work. So whenever you see brackets, it does not represent a point. It's just telling you all the solutions that exist. So one of the solutions is -3, and the other solution is 1. Alright, so your answer could be represented like that, or like that. Alright, how many times does the graph y equals -x squared plus 4 cross the x-axis? Okay, to answer this question, you could simply use the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, and figure out its relationship to 0. That's the easiest way to do it. Alright, so b squared, we have 0 squared minus 4 times a, -1 times c, and its relationship to 0. So I get 0, let's see, I get 4 times 4, plus 16. So what is 16's relationship to 0? It's greater than. So that means there are 2 solutions. Or it crosses the x-axis 2 times. Alright, you could have just as well factored this, and you would have figured out the specific 2 solutions that exist. But this is the quickest method to answer this question.